I'm Dale Cox, News Director for WEVV Fox TV. As you can see, things are a little quiet right now here on the set of the News at 9, but behind the scenes there's a lot going on. I hope you'll stay with us for the next half hour because we're going to give you a rare opportunity, a chance to go behind the scenes of an active, aggressive newscast. We're going to show you not only what we do, but how we do it and why we do it. If you're already watching the News at 9, I think you'll find it enjoyable. If you're not, it's a great opportunity for us to show you what you're missing. Stay tuned.
Okay, here we go. Lead package cue. Stand by your audio. Ready, carry one.
CD's ready.
Meteor 3, standing by. Standing by in the studio.
There is more to being a reporter than just smiling for the camera, and therein lies one key difference between the News at 9 and your other local late-night newscasts. Every member of our staff is a journalist first. That is not always the case with television news anchors. Our main anchor, Tim Black, is much more than just a smile and a face. Tim has a solid background as a reporter, working first at a station only a couple of hours away in Murray, Kentucky, and then joining us nearly 2 years ago in the same capacity. He has worked his way up to the position of main anchor with the News at 9, but he is still a reporter first.
Yeah, well, I mean, it gives you some knowledge of what's going on, first of all. Being involved with the story is much better than just talking about it. You know, it's always nice to know some of the background and what's going on with the story, and it helps me in terms of presenting that story to an audience to put the right I guess, emotions behind it or whatever else when you know some of the involvement that's going on there.
Tim's accomplishments as a reporter with the News at 9 have been astounding. In 1993 alone, he was the first local journalist to take you to Metropolis, Illinois for an in-depth, behind-the-scenes look at the good and the bad of riverboat gambling. Tim was on the scene of major river floods, both along the Mississippi River and the White River in Indiana. And he was the first local journalist to take you back to the scene of the devastating flooding in Evansville and Prairie du Rocher, Illinois, for a look at how those communities are recovering, thanks to help from people right here in the tri-state.
It was something that everyone was seeing every night, either on television or they were reading about it in the newspaper. And the interesting thing about that story is that even though it was pretty much located in the central part of the country, there was a lot of help and a lot of aid coming from other parts of the country, and especially from here in the tri-state.
Tim's experiences with the News at 9 also have taken him into the skies over Evansville in a performing jet aircraft, into the crowds at Thunder on the Ohio, and to training camp with local National Guardsmen. His compassion has allowed him to provide you accurate, in-depth, and heartfelt coverage of some of the most tragic news stories to happen in the tri-state in many years.
Well, I think first of all and most importantly, they get the information maybe of the day that they want and probably need to know. Beyond that, I think just in recent weeks and in recent months, I'm really pleased with the fact that I think we've been touching on some stories that are out there, maybe not necessarily talking about the facts and what you would consider traditional news of the day, but helping the individual during the holiday seasons, helping the consumer to find out what's going on, what's happening, how to protect themselves, those kinds of things. I think you always see something on our newscast that's interesting, and I think that's important because, you know, news is interesting. I think you get a whole smattering of stuff as well. I mean, if you watch our newscast, there are lots of different things that go on. I mean, you know, you hear the hard news of the day and the most important things going on, but at some point in the newscast, you're probably going to hear something about maybe a movie or a movie star or whatever, and those things are interesting to people. I mean, that's popular culture.
Because Tim Black is a reporter first, he gives you a depth and understanding rarely found in television news anchors. He understands the story within the story and the impact that events can have on ordinary people. And that means that when you watch the News at 9, you get a lot more than just a face on TV. And while Tim may very well be the face you see most nights on the News at 9, the heart of our news department is a solid crew of the most outstanding reporters to be found in the tri-state. Julie Knable has been covering news in the tri-state area for years, and she does it with an insight and determination that is rare among television journalists. Carjackings have become a terror to the residents of America's larger cities, but when the tri-state community of Morganfield, Kentucky became the first local town to experience one, Julie Knable was the first local reporter to tell you about it.
that was such an interesting morning. I remember calling my rounds, my beat calls, and the dispatcher said, well, you know, somebody put a gun to somebody's head and stole their car. And I said, a light went off in my head and said, that's a carjacking. This is in a small town in Kentucky. You know, you hear about this happening in Florida, in Los Angeles or New York or something, but you never think that something like that's going to happen here. And I was really proud of our station and for us for doing that story and recognizing that, yes, that was a carjacking and it happened in a small town in Kentucky, and everybody else just covered it. They didn't mention that it was a carjacking.
But being a good reporter means more than just being able to identify an important story. When a local man was accused of being a serial rapist and implicated in the murder of a Florida college student, every reporter in town knew it was an important story. But Julie worked connections and sources across the country to secure the video and information needed to give you the most accurate and in-depth coverage of the story.
We have taken an in-depth, hard look at some really serious issues that nobody else has, and been very fair about it. I think that, you know, just from a visual standpoint, just the issues that we've dealt with, people find stuff on our station that they're just not going to find anywhere else.
And her reports have done much more than just tell you the news. She has given you information you can use to protect yourself and your family. In a recent special assignment report, for example, Julie reported on ways that your kids can protect themselves if approached by a stranger. At News at 9, we do more than just tell you the stories, because we believe we have a responsibility to serve as well as to inform. And we believe that compassion should be a key element of the news gathering process. That's why you don't see our reporters knocking on the doors of crime victims, asking them how they feel.
I like to tell a story. I like to tell someone's story, what happened. I don't like to go to the victims of families. I don't like to go to their families. I don't think it's necessary to do that type of thing to tell the story, and I think that's kind of tabloid television when people do that. I don't get into that. I don't think people want to see that. I think it's rude. They're going through, a terrible time, and people don't want to see. I just don't think people want to see that, and I really don't think it adds anything to the story. I think you can tell a good story without having to stoop to that level of reporting.
Joining Julie on our reporting team is Warren Korf, whose background includes tenure with the news departments at local radio stations WIKY and WBKR. In fact, Warren has called Southern Indiana his home since the day he was born.
I grew up in Evansville, Indiana. I actually grew up in the county, out in Vanderburgh County, out in a place called Armstrong, which is about as far north and as far west in Vanderburgh County as you can get. Went to school at Cynthia Heights, and from there I went to Central High School and graduated from Central, and went away to school for 1 year at the University of DePaul in Greencastle, Indiana. Came back to Evansville and finished up 3 years at the University of Southern Indiana, where I received my degree.
Warren's background gives him a unique perspective on news in the tri-state. He understands why things happen the way they do here, and he has the local contacts to deliver you the best and most up-to-date coverage of key local news events.
Whenever reporters sometimes go out to cover a story, if they don't have the background here, they have no idea that this idea was tried 20 years ago or that it's tried every 5 years. They don't know the history of certain happenings around here, like let's say the situation at Whirlpool. Is there a good situation or bad situation out there between management and the workers, and how often do they go on strike? What kind of counter threats and threats are made out there? So living here, you actually know what has happened and what has worked and what has not worked in years past. And you know that you know why certain people in certain areas of the county feel the way they do about what's going on at City Hall.
Being a reporter is much, much more than just talking for 2 minutes on the evening news. A good journalist spends countless hours learning a beat, talking to people, and making friends. Warren believes that one advantage you receive from watching the news at 9 is that it is more focused and complete. Because we devote our attention to just one main newscast a day, he believes you are getting better news.
Going back to the reporters that we have, I think we have some good reporters here, and we're, as you said, cultivating some sources. And we can cover, the Owensboro area, Evansville, Jasper, the entire tri-state. And with only having one newscast a day, we can focus on that one newscast and put all of our time and effort into the one newscast and present, one good story on that event, as opposed to rushing and trying to get a couple things in that, may have only, half of what needs to be there.
Warren also has a personal commitment to provide news coverage that is the best, and he plans to keep it that way.
Just the sheer competitiveness of it, I want to be number one. I want to have that out there in front of everybody, and I want them to know that we had it.
Like Warren, News at 9 reporter Angela Garriak has called Indiana her home since childhood, and prior to joining us, she worked as a television reporter in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. That background gives her the perspective she needs to identify stories that are interesting to tri-state viewers. But for Angela, news goes far beyond just the surface of the story.
Well, one thing I think definitely here at Fox is that there seems to be stories that every station has. You turn on the news at 5 or 6 and everybody's got the same stories. And oftentimes, if it's a fire or a really big breaking story, we'll be there too, but we also try to, I specifically try to look for things that are different. Things that have human interest to them.
Getting beyond the surface of a story carried Angela into the heart of 2 different floods this year. In White County, Illinois, she was in a boat talking to residents as they tried to save their belongings from rising floodwater. And during the Mississippi River floods, she gave you a unique look at the lengths some local residents were going to just to lend a hand.
We, drove all the way up to St. Charles, and we got there and we met up with the Humane Society from Vanderburgh County. And these folks, they left their homes, their family, and went there to help just hundreds and hundreds of families. And what they did, you heard so much about people leaving their homes and so forth. Well, the other part of it was their belongings, for one thing, but also their pets. To pets, pet owners, some pet owners, their pet is like their second child. And so these people from the Vanderburgh Humane Society, they went there and spent well over, 2-3 weeks at a time rescuing animals. And it was just so interesting to see them. These animals, they were scared to death, and they needed water, they needed food. And they just went out in the water and out in boats, and at times it was very dangerous. But it was such a different angle from the story. You heard so much about the floods and the people doing this, people in the hotels, and this was just a different angle that showed people really, really what it's like to not only lose your home, but to lose your animals and just, everything else.
Angela believes that a good reporter has to go beyond the surface of a story. As a first-hand observer, a journalist should fully understand what they are trying to cover.
Some people will say that you shouldn't get involved in stories, and that's what I learned in journalism school, that you are not the story, which is true, but also I think that your story has to be somewhat interesting to people, and you are there, and people trust you as telling them what is going on. And so being there, you really want to relate the experience to the viewer. And sometimes, in order to do that, you go down a water slide, or you wade through water to waist high or whatever, just to show what it's really like.
And like the rest of our team, Angela believes that the News at 9 should do more than just inform. It should help you improve your life.
There's so much bad news, I guess. You'll talk to people, they'll be like, gosh, the news is always so negative, but it's really not. When you can take a story and one day you'll have a house fire, and then the next day you do something like fire safety, or last week Pete did something on how to protect your house around Christmas. Those are really great stories because they're very informative.
Rounding out our reporting team is Angela Cleaving, a moving force behind our expansion to Sunday nights. Thanks to her efforts, the Sunday night edition of the News at 9 is living up to our goal of providing a weekend newscast that simply is the best.
I enjoy meeting a lot of people about finding out their stories, because each person has their own story. And once you meet that person and you get to know them, they will more than likely divulge information to you and tell you a story, whether you want to hear it or not, whether you ask them or not. That people like to talk.
Like much of the rest of our staff, Angela is from the tri-state area. She spent some of her teenage years working at Holiday World and has put great effort into working her way through the University of Southern Indiana. In the process, she has gained valuable experience in the geography, culture, and people of our area, experience that combines to make her an outstanding weekend reporter. Weather is a critical element of the News at 9, and we take it seriously. We take it seriously because weather affects your life on a daily basis. We believe that the forecast you get from us should be accurate, to the point, and meaningful. You may not be aware of this, but not every weather person in Evansville is a real meteorologist. But at News at 9, we believe that the person who gives you your weather information should know as much about what they are doing as possible. That's why our forecast is prepared by a degreed meteorologist, Pete Grigsby.
I think where the meteorology degree will really come in handy is that when severe weather threatens a tri-state area, I, with my background of education and experience, know what to look for. What certain types of storms are developing, what they're going to develop to, what areas will they affect in the tri-state. Being able to look at different forecast models and predicting what's going to hit the area eventually with this, how strong is this cold front. Instead of saying it is a cold front, with the educational background, I know how strong it is and what it's going to be doing to our area, not just sweeping across, bringing a chance of rain.
Pete has been forecasting the weather in our area for years, and he prepares our weather report with the accuracy and competence that only a real meteorologist can provide. Plus, the News at 9 is affiliated with AccuWeather, the nation's premier private team of meteorologists. Our AccuWeather affiliation gives us access to the cutting edge of weather forecasting technology, from crystal clear satellite imagery to the new advanced Doppler radar. Plus, a team of more than 75 meteorologists work with Pete on a nightly basis to prepare your weather forecast.
I could probably forecast myself, but when I have an opportunity to work with someone like AccuWeather who has 75 meteorologists on their staff, and they're watching the weather around the clock, you know, where I'm not going to do that 24 hours a day for our region. So every night I'm able to talk with someone and we discuss the weather elements for the tri-state area. So in other words, yes, I have my knowledge, but I'm learning from them, they're learning from me. So we're working together to compile this one forecast that you see every night on the News at 9.
One advantage of the News at 9 weather is our access to the latest and advanced Doppler radar technology.
Well, it's more accurate, but at the same time, it's also, it has a better range. It goes farther out. In this case, it's showing us such a large range that I can see what's approaching a tri-state area, where your old Doppler radars locally could only show you just a few miles radius. It wouldn't be able to show you what's heading in our direction. At the same time, it has so many different modes that the old radars don't have. Like I said, the clear air mode and the precipitation mode. All these different modes have deep meanings to them for meteorologists.
In addition to advanced Doppler, our weather report offers you cutting-edge satellite technology. Technology that actually helps us track the hourly movement of storms and weather systems as they approach the tri-state. The true meaning of our technological advantage becomes clear quickly. A check of Pete's forecast for rain and conditions during the first 2 weeks of December reveals that he was accurate 100% of the time. And accuracy is what weather forecasting is all about.
You know, people say, Pete, you have a fun personality. I think I do. But when it comes to weather, I don't want to be an image of this person like a clown giving the weather. Yes, I have fun with my job, but I am a meteorologist, and I take that seriously. And I want to present the weather with some style and with some class, but also get the point across that you can depend on me for your forecast, and I will be right.
No newscast would be complete without a concise, to-the-minute, and accurate sports presentation. But Kurt Dusterberg gives News at 9 Sports an added twist. Our sportscast is designed to appeal to more than just the sports nut of the family.
There are a couple things we like to do differently, mostly just to entertain the audience in a little bit different way. For starters, Big Board. It's a different twist on things. We brought it here and started it up so we could show people highlights in a way that they're not seeing them on other stations. I'm in front of the highlights. I can kind of interact with the highlights. It gives me a chance to be a part of it, and I think that's what kind of the fans see anyway. If you're at a game, you have a little bit different perspective than maybe you see just from the camera. Well, we give you another perspective still of, I can get out of the highlights if something big is happening, or I can kind of be involved with the players. It's a little different. It's more entertainment value, I think, and that's, after all, what sports is all about.
One key difference of News at 9 Sports is that we seek out good stories on people from our community. When local resident Scott Bunnell got the chance of a lifetime and was able to try out for the Chicago Bears pro football team, News at 9 was the only local station that bothered to send a camera crew to his tryout with him.
That is one of the most important things about it. He's a local guy going after the American dream. When I grew up, I wanted to play pro baseball, and you wanted to play pro something, and everyone else wanted to do. Most of us don't get to live the dream at the level we envision as a kid. And I think people do watch the people in their community. And if somebody has a shot at the NFL, or we've got Andy Bennis or Bob Greasy or Don Mattingly playing pro ball, you do take pride in the people around you. Maybe you met them as a kid. Maybe you lived in their neighborhood. You went to church with them. You played knot-hole baseball with them, Little League, things like that. And that gives you a chance to share some of that yourself, to know somebody who can accomplish something, and to look beyond that face mask and say, I know that guy.
Like the other members of our team, Kurt considers himself a journalist first, and he believes that each event he covers should be a story worth reporting to you. News, weather, and sports at 9, a winning combination for you and the Tri-State. The News at 9 is the result of a vision, and that vision was to fill a very real gap in local news coverage.
We started doing some research in part because of a personal frustration. I, quite frankly, was watching other newscasts at 10 o'clock in the evening, primarily, because I didn't get home often enough to watch it at 6, which is very common these days. And I would go to bed following that 10 o'clock news very unfulfilled.
WEVV Fox TV General Manager Skip Sims believes that frustration was being felt by other viewers in the Tri-State as well, and research backed up his conclusions.
There was a declining viewership of news in general. People were watching less news. They were watching TV as much as ever. They were not decreasing the amount of television they were watching. They were just watching less news. I had to ask the question, were they watching it for this less because for the same reasons I was starting to watch it less?
Part of that lack of fulfillment Sims says he was feeling was due to a lack of in-depth coverage, and it was determined very early in the conceptual stages that the News at 9 would strive to fill that void.
Another personal goal of mine was to give some in-depth coverage. I mean, it's very easy to, you can cover in 60 seconds the who, what, when, where, why, and hows. What we wanted to do also was give a little bit more depth, to expand on the why, if you will.
The News at 9 is the only newscast in the market with a functioning special assignments team. And our investigative series, Choking by Choice, was awarded the American Lung Association's 1993 Award for Media Excellence. WEVV Fox TV also ranks as Evansville's only CNN affiliate. CNN is an undisputed leader in national and world news coverage, and our partnership with them gives us the ability to take you live to the scene of major national and world events.
I am pleased with the content. I do watch our news at 9, and at 9:30 feel satisfied. Feel like I now know what was going on in my world today.
Good evening, Indian Woods. This is Michelle speaking.
Michelle Harnish has been named Evansville's Leasing Consultant of the Year by the local Apartment Owners and Managers Association. She also watches the News at 9.
I watch the News at 9 because, one, with my work schedule, by the office not closing until 6, there's many times I don't even get out of the office until a quarter after or 6:30. By that time, I've generally missed the 6 o'clock news.
Statistics show that the number of hours being worked by many Americans is on the rise. The person who wraps up their day at 5 and is home in time for the 6 o'clock news has become the exception rather than the rule. Lifestyles are changing, and with them, television viewing habits are changing as well. More Americans are getting up earlier and getting home later. In Michelle's case, that means that the News at 9 is her only real evening alternative for keeping up on what's happening in the Tri-State, the nation, and the world. But to attract and hold viewers, a newscast has to be more than just convenient. Michelle is foregoing entertainment programming on other channels just to watch the News at 9. She expects what she sees to be the best.
I very much enjoy what I see on News at 9. I feel that they're on top of the situation, that they generally are one of the first to break any upcoming stories.
In cities across the country, including those in the tri-state, it is growing apparent that weather is one of the key reasons people are watching their late-night newscasts. They want to know what to expect when the sun rises the next morning. Will it rain or snow? Will it be cold or mild? Weather is a factor that affects all of our lives on a daily basis.
I use it a lot of times, with it being at 9 o'clock at night. I watch it before I go to bed. That way I can plan what I'm going to wear to the office the next day, so it helps me considerably.
There are many viewers like Michelle in the tri-state area. Workdays end well after 6, and then there's the drive home. Dinner, the laundry, the kids, the pets, the list of things that simply have to be taken care of in an average day can be enormous. And by the time the routine chores are done, in many cases, it's almost 9 o'clock. For people with busy lifestyles, WEVV Fox TV is a clear alternative. The News at 9 offers a convenient time to sit down and absorb the news of the day. It is credible, it is accurate, and it is fulfilling. And it is followed by entertainment programming that gives you a chance to relax before heading off to bed. So in the final analysis, how can you benefit by watching the News at 9? Well, there are a number of ways. First and foremost, you get a news product that is accurate, to the point, and innovative. Our anchors and reporters go to great lengths to make sure that the news they give you is as accurate as possible, as interesting as possible, and is measured with a degree of compassion. Credibility is the name of the game. WEVV Fox TV was the first station in the Evansville market to implement a computerized newsroom system. This allows reporters to handle more information and analyze more data as they sit down to write and produce their stories. The News at 9 is the only Evansville affiliate of CNN, the undisputed leader in credible national and world news coverage. Weathercaster Pete Grigsby is a degreed meteorologist who understands weather and the most up-to-date methods of forecasting it. And finally, the News at 9 fits your lifestyle. Our news is geared to working people, whether they work on the job or in the home. The News at 9 is convenient because it allows you time to get home from work, to take care of your household chores or your family, and still get a complete, credible, and accurate look at the day's news, weather, and sports. The News at 9 was designed for people like you. If you don't have time to see the 6 o'clock news and would really rather be relaxing by 10 o'clock, then it is your only alternative for tri-state news. I hope you've enjoyed our behind-the-scenes look at the News at 9. And I want to take this opportunity to extend to you a personal invitation. If you're not already watching, please give us a try. Thanks a lot.
Please. It's the search for the Big O. Find the best sex you've ever had, and if we got a few places for you to look next Geraldo.
Okay, here we go.
Lead package Q.
Stand by your audio. Ready, camera 1.
BTR 3, standing
Up
by.
a little bit, 1.
Standing by in the studio.
Ready, Mike cue 'em.
2. And teamsters and carpenters and men and women, black and white, young and old, you come to realize that there's a bond between us, and we call it solidarity.
Good evening, I'm Tim Black. UMW President Richard Trumka certainly preached solidarity this summer during the coal strike, but later this week he's expected in Evansville to testify against former colleagues accused of stealing from the union. That trial leads our news tonight. Hundreds of thousands of dollars was allegedly stolen from the union by 3 of its own. News at 9's Julie Knable has a preview of that trial.
UMWA miners spend roughly $50 a month to be in the union. That money is used to run the organization for arbitration and collective bargaining. Beginning tomorrow, 3 former union officials will stand trial for stealing from their fellow union workers. The defendants are former district president Larry Reynolds. Reynolds is accused of taking $152,000 over a 10-year period, aligning himself with coal companies to work out deals that benefited the companies and not union miners. Reynolds faces a total of 41 criminal counts. Mark Arnold was UMWA district president in 1989. He's accused of taking $38,000. Officials say he helped destroy Union Bank records to cover the theft. And former district treasurer Donald Hughes. He's accused of aiding and abetting and signing blank checks in order to steal money. $500,000 of union money was allegedly stolen. $250,000 was diverted for a total of $750,000. The prosecution's star witness will be former District 11 bookkeeper Carol Stoner, who pleaded guilty to taking over $300,000. She'll be testifying against the 3 defendants. Over 50 people are expected to testify, and the prosecution is rumored to have over 10,000 pieces of evidence to present in what's expected to be a month-long trial. In Evansville, Julie Knable, News at 9.
2 Evansville teenagers remain hospitalized tonight after crashing into a utility pole earlier today. A car driven by 16-year-old Marcy Racine was headed north on Sybe Road, apparently speeding. The car went airborne for about 80 feet, out of control for almost 500 feet, and then hit a utility pole. Racine and her passenger, 17-year-old Tori Holder, were taken to St. Mary's Medical Center. Well, Evansville teachers and the school corporation are back at it again tonight at the bargaining table, to be specific, in hopes of finally reaching a contract agreement. News at 9's Angela Gariak joins us live from the newsroom now with the latest. Angela?
Well, Tim, negotiators made quite a bit of progress last week during a couple of those marathon sessions. And even though talks tonight didn't begin until just around 7:30, both sides say it's possible they may reach an agreement sometime yet tonight.
Of course, we're hopeful that we can get a package tonight. There are 2 big items that are still on the table, insurance and wages. Our team is determined to be there as long as we have to be to make sure we have a fair and equitable contract to take back to our members.
Do you expect something this evening?
Well, we're hopeful. If we're not able to reach a decision tonight, then our team will be willing to meet at the table again. We're willing to do what it takes.
And I think that feeling of doing what it takes to reach an agreement is also shared by the school corporation. Both sides really want to get this thing ironed out. Tim?
Okay, Angela, you just got back from the meeting just a few minutes ago, as a matter of fact. What was your feeling about how things are going down there this evening?
Well, things are really moving quickly down there. The Teachers Association is looking over a counter proposal right now from the school board, and they haven't said yay or nay, but they could make a decision sometime in the next few hours, and if not tonight, I would say by tomorrow, definitely. So things are moving quite rapidly.
Okay, Angela, thanks for bringing us up to date on that, and certainly if we get any new information, we'll pass it along to you. Meanwhile, months of negotiating did pay off in Warwick County. Tonight, the school board there gave its approval to a new 2-year contract that teachers ratified last week. The contract gives teachers a 2.25% wage increase this year. Next year's increase will be based on other factors. Teachers had been working without a contract all school year. Now, it was anything but agreement at the Warwick County School Board meeting tonight for this student artwork on display at the Boonville Warwick County Public Library. Parents at the meeting called the art vulgar and satanic. One school board member, though, said the Constitution allows freedom of expression and that protects the artwork. The board made no motion tonight concerning the art. Still ahead, we will begin a look at people who claim to have visions of heaven and the Holy Spirit, and a man accused of killing an abortion doctor with Western Kentucky connections goes on trial. The story next.
Another famous seat.
Good evening, everyone. I'm meteorologist Pete Grigsby. As expected, an overcast day for the tri-state, but you better get out those umbrellas and rain jackets. You're going to need them tomorrow. More about that later on. Tim?
All right, thanks, Pete. Jury selection in the trial of an anti-abortion activist accused of killing Dr. David Gunn behind a Florida abortion clinic began today. Gunn was originally from Benton, a small western Kentucky community, before moving to Florida and into the eye of the abortion storm. Charles Jaco has more.
Michael Griffin is both a defendant and a metaphor. Griffin's accused in the murder of Dr. David Gunn behind a Pensacola abortion clinic in March 1993. Both sides of the abortion debate have used Griffin and his trial as an opportunity to speak their piece.
For anything less than him to be found guilty would literally give a license to kill to others who want to use this, well, you know, I was rendered temporarily insane by watching these graphic materials. It essentially leaves the door wide open. That's a very frightening thought.
I'm here to say that I may not agree with his methods, but I can understand the motivation.
But despite all that rhetoric and despite the presence of sharpshooters and tight security around the Escambia County Courthouse, only a couple of dozen demonstrators from both the abortion rights and anti-abortion camps bothered to show up. Inside the courtroom, Judge John Parnham set down strict rules about keeping any display from either side out of the courtroom.
This trial itself is not an opportunity for a demonstration. The trial is not an opportunity for protest. This trial is not an opportunity for the attorneys to obtain exposure.
Jury selection could run another week, and the trial itself could run a week past that. Griffin's defense strategy has changed several times. Right after being arrested in the killing, the sometimes anti-abortion activist reportedly confessed. He then changed his plea to not guilty. He then decided he would represent himself in court using the Bible as his law book. Now his defense attorneys are considering using a variety of the insanity defense. They're attempting to claim that Griffin was made unstable by being brainwashed by anti-abortion activists and by reading their literature and watching their videos. The prosecution will claim it's a simple case of murder and that Michael Griffin should die in the electric chair. Charles Jaco, CNN, Pensacola, Florida.
Late word on this trial tonight. The judge says he will not allow Griffin to use the insanity defense, and prosecutors now say they will not ask for the death penalty. Under an agreement reached today by consumer representatives and Ameritech, your residential telephone bill will go down by as much as $2.86 over the next 2 years and remain capped until 1998. Ameritech will also invest $120 million over the next 6 years to develop an advanced communications system in Indiana schools, hospitals, and major government centers. All of this, though, still requires approval by the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission. Other news now that the UN and NATO have finally brought a measure of peace to Sarajevo, the Allies are asking what next. The U.S. Secretary of State in Washington today says NATO is still keeping a close watch on the Bosnian situation. NATO warplanes are still poised to bomb Serbian weapons that threaten the Bosnian capital, but the UN reports few, if any, such weapons remain. Bosnia's UN commander hopes to take advantage of the calm to reopen roads and repair water, power, and telephone lines in Sarajevo. Florida police say they've had a substantial break in a brutal weekend attack on 2 campers. A man was beaten to death and his sister was raped and tied to a tree. In the Ocala National Forest, 2 suspects were picked up after the victim's car was found in Ocala. The men are being questioned but have not been formally charged. Some political notes now. The deadline for candidates to file for Indiana's May primary is over, and a big name in local politics is not on the list. Vanderburgh County Commissioner Don Hunter has decided not to seek re-election. Hunter brushes off reports that party leaders thought he was too soft on Democrats. He says he's not running so he can spend more time with his family, but he says he may seek another office someday.
One of the things that I want to do is look in terms of moving back into town in the next couple of years, and I really didn't think it was fair to ask people to vote for me out in the county and not serve a full 4-year term. And that was one of the factors in my decision.
The Arts Council of Southwestern Indiana is celebrating the common interests of the business world and the arts community. 32 area businesses have agreed to display works from local artists during Business Arts Month. Today, the council passed out awards to participants. Jay Baker won first place for his collection of Aztec sculptures, masks, paintings, and a water fountain, which is on display at Elder Bierman. Kurt Dusterberg in now with your Monday night sports in full display over on the big board.
Absolutely. Got one of these, and that can only mean one thing. It's the original big board. You got the Aces playing Missouri St. Louis, and they're kicking some tail. We're going to show you how coming up.
All right, Kurt's in next. Stay with us.
You can't find it at Wendy's. You can't find it at...
Tomorrow morning at 9 on WEVV Fox TV.
This segment of the News at 9 is brought to you by Parkway Ford Nissan, exit 44 off the Pennyrile, Madisonville, Kentucky.
Welcome back. Missouri St. Louis out at the stadium. I think the mascot Ace Purple got a hold of some of that bad mascot food. You know, what can you do when that happens? Andy Elkins' first bucket of the game for the Aces. He makes it 2-0, and then check out Reed Jackson. Nice move inside, just spots up a little behind the backboard, so he had good aim on that. Watch the Aces run the floor. Scott Sparks, you got your Todd Kokenauer, you got your Andy Elkins, you got the bucket. It's 6-0. Aces looking awfully tough in this one. Out here is Andy, says I can shoot the three as well. So he does, he knocks it down. The 17-0 at that point, hard to believe. Riverman and Rodney Hawthorne, they finally break the spell after 17 zip, call it 17-2. But the Aces bring in Brent Kell, much to the delight of the Kellometer people, who have the 58.2. That's leading the nation at this point, and Brent does not disappoint. He just knocks one down. I got one more for you. Rich McFessel, the St. Louis coach, says, man, do something about this Kell guy, but they don't, because Brent with the NBA-style three, that one from about 180 yards out. Right now, beating him like a drum, I might add. Right now, almost caught it coming back. I've never tried that before. 81-49. Aces have the lead in this one with about 5 minutes to go. So, K19 is right. Rack up that 19th win. It's on the way. Some bad news tonight for our man Calbert Cheney. He said he heard a pop near his heel in yesterday's game between Washington and New Jersey. Turns out to be an injured tendon in his left foot. That could put him out for at least a couple of weeks. The Bullets team doctors took x-rays today. As I said, it could be at least 2 weeks, but maybe not anymore. First, they were worried about a season-ending injury. Timing couldn't have been much worse for Cheney, though. He scored a career-high 30 and then 31 last week. He's averaging about 11 points per game. Well, here's a strange one. Remember Coastal Carolina? The Aces beat them out at the stadium last month. The Chanticleers coach, Russ Bergman, now admits to breaking NCAA rules this weekend. He does this after seeing the movie Blue Chips. Bergman said he bought 2 plane tickets for 2 players, including star forward Mohamed Acha. The school suspended Acha Friday for other violations. Bergman said buying the tickets was, quote, the only humane thing to do, unquote. Blue Chips, of course you probably know by now, tells the story of a college coach who tries to run a clean program. Interesting news in that one. Northwestern coach Ricky Birdsong is headed back to the sidelines. The coach took a 2-week leave of absence after he wandered into the stands during a game against Minnesota. He said it was a ploy to make the team come together without him. That's not what the administration thought. He makes his return Thursday night against the Hoosiers. You can see that game right here on WEVV. The NFL's Jacksonville Jaguars have their first head coach. He is former Boston College coach Tom Coughlin. Jaguars made the announcement at a press conference this afternoon. Team owners say Coughlin will also function as the general manager, making all the personnel decisions. Coughlin gets a 5-year contract worth $4 million. Jacksonville begins play in 1995. Well, the hopes for Miracle on Ice Part 2 are still alive for the U.S. hockey team. Today they advanced to the medal round with a 7-1 thrashing of Italy. They will play Finland, probably the best team in the tournament. First game of the medal round. Bonnie Blair, speed skater, finished 4th, I think 8 1/1000ths of a second out of 3rd place, and Peekaboo Street was 10th in the Alpine combined. I've been waiting all week just to say Peekaboo. I've never said that on air before.
Interesting name. Born in the 60s, love child there or something, right?
You've been doing your homework.
That's right, I have. Keeping up on things.
Good for you.
Kurt. More and more people are getting religion these days through visions and voices. We'll begin a week-long look next.
It's the big day.
The road if they're to stay in contention with Michigan and Indiana for the Big Ten crowd. Catch the action Wednesday night at 7, only here on WEVV Fox TV.
The Health and Lifestyles Report is presented tonight by St. Mary's Medical Center. When you need some special care, we'll be there.
People in ever-increasing numbers are claiming to see, hear, and talk to ancient religious icons. We'll explore that phenomenon all this week in a special series, Visions and Voices. News at 9 special correspondent Charles Zewe reports.
The light is very bright. The light that I see now is a supernatural light.
Kneeling in the bedroom of a Georgia farmhouse, ex-nurse Nancy Fowler believes she's seeing Jesus, the Virgin Mary, saints, and angels.
Many saints are appearing. One changes within a split second of time, one after another.
Outside, thousands pray. Many see things too.
The sun is spinning. You can look right at it. It's spinning. It's beautiful. It's got a glow around it. It's just beautiful.
Cameras skyward, they claim glimpses of heaven.
My daughter-in-law took a picture, and that was the wings of the angels in the picture.
Oh, boy.
Some say silver-colored rosaries changed.
Hers has turned absolutely pure gold. I mean pure gold.
A continent away, the faithful gaze at two supposedly bleeding icons.
To be used, you have to be willing to be humble and obedient.
Not far away, Sadie Jaramillo, mother of 6, hears supernatural voices foretell California earthquakes.
And they said there would be this intense shaking. And the godless would fall to their knees in fear.
People of all walks of life contend they're communicating with ancient religious figures, sometimes on a daily basis.
In the last 4 years, the number of apparitions around the world, and particularly in the United States, has quadrupled. Some experts who are studying these phenomena claim that they're directly related to stressful times.
They think it's no accident publications on angels and apparitions abound as the millennium approaches.
It's a marvelous opportunity to get everybody scared to death.
Father Benedict Groeschel is a priest, psychologist, and author of a book on apparitions.
The people are frightened and they seek a way to know something about what's going to happen in the world.
And I think people are clearly reaching out for some kind of meaning and some kind of miracle that's going to somehow affect their lives.
Not everyone thinks this phenomenon is harmless.
They're psyching themselves up. They're reinforcing each other's beliefs and expectations to see something.
Believer Douglas Croak, however, insists he's seen things that have left him overcome.
I couldn't stop crying all day long. Don't ask me why, I can't say. And I just firmly believe that what is happening here is true.
Charles Ziwi, News at 9.
Of Aces basketball. That's Sunday nights at 9:30 on WEVV Fox TV.
Noble Romans introduces new crispy crust pizza. Made with honey and spice.
Wow, it's the best new pizza in town.
Noble Romans, the better pizza people.
Pete Grigsby in now with our exclusive AccuWeather forecast. And last week I said things just kept getting better as the week rolled along. We're not even into this one really good yet, and it's already getting worse.
Temperatures coming downward, and we've got rain in store for tomorrow. So get out those umbrellas and rain jackets. You'll need them. Currently an overcast sky in Evansville, 42 and light fog. Winds are from the north at 8 miles an hour. The barometer is rising from 30.30 inches. Humidity 86%. High today 49, 42 our current temperature is the low so far for this day, and no rainfall for the past 24 hours. The rest of the tri-state, Vincennes at 40, Jasper's at 41, Owensboro at 44, it's 46 in Madisonville and 41 in Carmi, Illinois. It was indeed a beautiful weekend. Yesterday, yes, we got some rainfall, but it didn't keep us from reaching up above 60 degrees for the entire tri-state. Areas down in the southeast above 70, even down in Florida, more than 80 degrees on that thermometer. Fairly quiet evening across the tri-state. No rainfall as for now, but we've had a low cloudiness throughout the day. That cold front's now moving away from us. Our next focus is this very strong upper level low that brought that rainfall to Southern California yesterday morning, is now beginning to move across Texas and Oklahoma. With its northeast direction, it will be causing the rainfall for the tri-state by tomorrow afternoon and evening, but staying just to the west and northwest of our area, bringing us not only rain but a chance of thunderstorm activity. And with its counterclockwise motion, it's actually going to warm us up by Wednesday afternoon into the lower 50s, but get ready for the rainfall. It's definitely going to be here by tomorrow afternoon. Then by Wednesday, it continues this northeast trackward into the New England states. It'll be an overcast day for us with milder temperatures, but then we've got to keep our eye on this next system hitting the Pacific Northwest, bringing us not only rain, but snow for the weekend. More about that later on.
On MASH, a visiting whiz kid has Charles completely depressed.
Play doctor with Skippy.
What's he got against me?
Well, you're young, you're intelligent, and worst of all, you're right.
And Charles isn't the only one.
The boy surgeon got to you, didn't he? Just scared the hell out of me, that's all.
The sins of youth.
Ruined by a little twerp surgeon.
On MASH.
Tonight at 9:30 on WEVV Fox TV.
If you have to travel tomorrow morning to Atlanta, expect some rain showers in Dallas. Looking nice for Denver and LA with mostly sunny skies. Tonight, overcast skies for the tri-state. Tomorrow, rainfall and windy conditions. 48 will be the high. Tomorrow night, a few thunderstorms and 45. The extended forecast, well, mostly cloudy skies for Wednesday afternoon and Thursday. Cools us down. We'll get to 38 for Thursday. The next chance of rain after this system will come on Friday and Saturday.
Okay, thanks, Pete. I have some good news, though, especially for Aces fans. Final score, Aces 95, Missouri St. Louis 57. And this final sports story tonight, this year there's one athlete who isn't competing in the Winter Olympics, but she has high hopes for the future. 14-year-old Jennifer Lee of Atlanta practices her figure skating each day, saying she's aiming for gold one day. It's a pretty expensive venture so far, though. Her parents have already spent $100,000. And that will do it for us on this Monday. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here again tomorrow at 9. Until then, good night.
I have been lying.